Let's say you're going to increase the bicep half of an inch, which means 1.2 centimeter. Because you have 4 seams, I see a lot of people make the grading evenly, but this is wrong. Hi, I'm Jin. Welcome to Pattern Studio 101. Today we're going to talk about grading, and especially some common mistakes I see pretty often. So first, what is grading? It's simply the process of creating a full size range from one base pattern. For example, if your pattern is in size medium, grading helps you create size small, large, extra large, and so on, without having to redraw each size from scratch. The important thing in grading is keeping the design consistent. That means the proportion have to stay the same as the size go up or down. Of course, sometimes you may keep certain details exactly the same across all the sizes, like pockets or the plackets. And that's fine if it's done on purpose. But aside from that, always keep an eye on the overall ratio and proportions. In this lesson, I'll show you 2 examples of sleeve grading done the wrong way. And then I'll show you the correct way. One is just simple t-shirt pattern, and the other is a raincoat sleeve with underarm gusset. Alright, let's dive into the first example. This is a simple t-shirt pattern, and it already includes seam allowances. That's why you don't see the actual sewing lines here. But when it comes to grading, you don't really need the sewing lines. What really matters are the increment. How much the pattern grows or shrinks between notches. From the pattern, you know the side seam is not straight down. It is towards the front. And the shoulder seam is not sitting on the natural shoulder. It's going to be on your front body. So you do the grading by the rule you have. This is 1.5 inch grading. So the chest circumference is growing 3.8 centimeter. So the grading will look like this. Let's take a look at the sleeve. If you do the grading by rules, when the chest circumference is growing by 4 centimeter, the bicep needs to be growing by 1.2 centimeter. Then you move this point 0.6 centimeter, and for this point, so the bicep is growing 1.2 centimeter. And because the armhole depth is growing by 0.5 centimeter on the body, we move the shoulder point the same, right? 0.5 centimeter. That's a general rule. But even if this is a rule we follow, you need to double check if the sleeve armhole growing the same amount as the body armhole. In this example, the body armhole is growing by 1.3 centimeter, but the sleeve armhole is growing by 1.42 centimeter. It's just 0.12 centimeter in this example, but depending on the sleeve cap curve, you might have bigger differences. And even if it's only 0.12 centimeter, this is for one size. If you have 10 sizes to grading, the largest size will have more than 1.2 centimeter differences. So then you need to adjust the grading. In this case, because I want to keep the bicep increment, I'm going to adjust the grading for this point. The increment of this point is currently 0.5 centimeter. I revised to be 0.3 centimeter. So now the total increment of the sleeve armhole is the same as the body armhole increment. Any software you are using, you can check all the length. Even if you work on the paper, you still need to measure the body armhole length by sizes. Because this pattern has seam allowance, those lengths are not actually the armhole length. So we can ignore this. But we need to see this step, increment. So by sizes, it is growing 1.3 centimeter. That's the body armhole, right? Then let's measure the sleeve armhole. So this is the sleeve armhole increment. I would say it's okay because 0.03 centimeter is almost nothing. So okay, the body armhole increment and the sleeve armhole increment are the same. Then let's check notch by notch. From the underarm point to the first double notch at the back. So the body increment is 0.17 centimeter. Then you see on the sleeve from the underarm point to the first double notch. You see the sleeve armhole increment, only this part, is smaller than the body. Since we are going to keep the grading rule for this underarm point, because of the bicep increment, we need to move this notch. So you fix the notch by sizes. So the increment of this length is the same as the body. Same for all the segment. Increment for those two, and those two, and these two, and these two. They should have the same increment. Okay, let's take a look at another example. This is the pattern for a raincoat. As you can see, it has a really deep armhole depth. And the sleeve has gusset at the underarm. So if you see this sleeve pattern, this is the shoulder point. And these two are the underarm point. If you see the sample, the shoulder area, it looks like a regular sleeve. But you see this huge excess fabric at the underarm. This is the gusset, giving you a bigger mobility for the arms. And see the sleeve inseam is continuous to the body side seam. So if you see this pattern, you have a seam at the sleeve back, and these two are the underarm seam will match with the side seam on the body. So this is the bicep. Let's say you're going to increase the bicep half of an inch, which means 1.2 centimeter. Because you have 4 seams, I see a lot of people make the grading evenly. So let's say if it's 1.2 centimeter for the bicep, then simply 0.3 centimeter, 0.3 centimeter, 0.3 centimeter, and 0.3 centimeter. Then in total, the increment is 1.2 centimeter. But this is wrong. Because this is the shoulder point, under this line is the front sleeve, and upper this line is the back sleeve. So the increment of the front sleeve and the back sleeve should be even. Because the front body armhole and the back body armhole, they are growing evenly, the sleeve armhole increment should be the same. So when the increment of the bicep is 1.2 centimeter, the front bicep should be increased half of it, so 0.6 centimeter, and the increment of the back bicep is also 0.6 centimeter. Then it should be like this. This is 0.6 centimeter and 0.6 centimeter for these 3 seams. So 0.2 centimeter each. And again, the length notch to notch between body and sleeve armhole should be the same. So remember, when you do grading, always keep proportion and ratio in mind. And since today is the very last day of the year, I want to take a moment to thank you for being here with me, learning and growing together. This year has been such a journey, and I'm truly grateful that you've joined me along the way. As we step into the new year, I wish you health, happiness, and endless creativity. Happy New Year, everyone! Let's make 2026 an amazing year together. Hey, did you know I have a masterclass all about pants balance? I'll walk you through how to draft a solid pants base frame and how to fix balance issues especially if you're working with existing patterns. So many fit problems can be solved just by understanding pant balance. If you're tired of guessing and want real clarity, head over to patternstudio101.com and check it out. You do not want to miss this.